Okay, Dad, let's start by telling me your full name and how old you are now and where we are.
My full name is William Burdette Dean. Your next question?
The next question is, where are we?
We're in Florida, Miramar Beach,
And this is your apartment, right? That
and
you share.
this is the place that I am renting with my caretaker.
Okay, and she's on vacation now.
She's on vacation now.
All right. And I'm your son, and I'm doing the interview, and we're going to talk about things that you remember in your life. The date today is February 8th, 2011, just 3 days shy of your 93rd birthday, right?
That is correct. I was born on the 11th of February, 1918, in Iowa County, Wisconsin, near
Okay.
Dodgeville.
Were you weren't born in town?
No, I was not. I was about 3 miles out of town on a farm.
And who owned the farm?
I don't remember the man's name. My father was running the farm and he had rented it.
Oh, your father was actually running the farm.
Yes.
And your mother, what about her?
Yeah, she was there also.
And how did your mother and father meet?
At some relatives of Dad's. I can't remember the names of the relatives that they may come to me in Wisconsin that he was visiting, and she lived in Mauston, Wisconsin, and
And her maiden name was what?
Richards. Birdie Mae Richards was my mother's name.
And she had met your father in Wisconsin?
In
then?
Wisconsin, while he was visiting these relatives nearby.
Was he at that time running this farm?
No, he was just out visiting. He didn't rent the farm until they were married, and he wanted to have a job there to work.
Close to her.
And close to there, yeah.
Okay, and how, you were the firstborn?
Yes.
And in 1918, how long then did you stay on that farm?
Until I was about 4.5 years old.
What do you remember about that farm?
A couple of interesting things. One that I remember best is the fact that I had a little wooden tricycle, or a little child's sickle.
Mhm.
And I had left it outdoors when I was playing, and bad rain came along and it washed it away, washed it down the hill. And I just felt so bad and cried and so forth until my dad took me out to go look for it. We went down the hill and we found it in a drain ditch going over the driveway coming into the farm. And that's what...
And it was still in good shape?
It was okay. We had to dig it out and wash it off a bit. It was muddy. But that's one of the things I remember about the farm. Another one is my mother always went down to help Dad milk in the morning. And this particular morning, I think I was about 2.5. I was housebroken and all that. But she went down to help him and left me at home for a little while, at the house for a little while. And all of a sudden I had to go to potty. And I ran down to my mother. We had an outside toilet at that time. She took down my clothes and I ran with my pants flapped down. You remember the flaps on? But I didn't make it quite to the toilet. It was one of my embarrassing moments. Perhaps I was as much as 3 years old, I think, at that time.
Tell me about when you learned that you were going to move away from that farm.
Well, everybody in our family had my brother next 2 years younger, and my other brother 4 years younger than I, Richard and Vernon, and my mother had scarlet fever. We were all very ill, and Dad had never had scarlet fever, but he took care of all of us and never did get it. But everybody was bothered by it. Mother was bothered. Richard lost his hearing. My brother Vernon had 107 temperature, and he lost some of his mental capabilities. Lasted him all his life. But at that time, my father decided that he could not run a farm very. Oh boy, there goes my phone.
Don't worry about it. Just ignore it.
Yeah. That he would, and his father, my grandpa, Thomas Dean, invited him to come back to Magnolia, Minnesota, or come to Magnolia, Minnesota.
Well, it would be back because that's where he was
That's right,
from.
I had never been there. That
Well,
would be
it
back.
was back for your father.
Yeah, it would be back for my father, exactly. And he invited him to come and take over the blacksmith shop that he's been running, because he wanted to move into a machine shop that he built and had ready to go. So my dad couldn't leave Mother yet because she was pregnant for another child that was born later dead.
That would be Marjorie, right?
Yes. And let's see, he decided then he would go, and that Mother had some people in the Mitchells that would look after her and until she was all right to come. She waited until a child was born, and the child died, and then she came out also.
Okay, so that was not Marjorie, that was Paul,
That was Paul.
the
That's right.
fourth boy who
Correct.
died shortly after childbirth.
That is correct.
Okay?
That was Paul. And my grandfather came out and took Richard and I
And Vernon.
back to Magnolia, which was Dad's original home.
How did you travel to Magnolia?
By car, an Essex car. My grandfather always loved Essex products.
Now, what about your grandfather? Wasn't he a pioneer with cars?
He built the first cars in Rock County, Minnesota.
He actually built.
He built 6 cars, yeah. And my dad, at that time, was a young man, just married, but he helped his father mainly by delivering the cars. He drove them to the parties that.
All right, let me
bought
stop
them.